Hi everyone, welcome back to the channel. Today I'm going to be talking through this. Now, it's not really a custom build like the videos I've been doing recently. This is actually just going to be kind of like a short review of an airsoft pistol that is one of my favorites. It actually is one that I used to use pretty much all the time, and I have actually started using my Glock 45 as kind of my go-to now instead of this, but I absolutely love this, and I think that it is a really overlooked gas blowback replica that a lot of people don't even consider. They think it might look a bit weird, and when I've had friends use mine, they absolutely love it. So I'm going to go through the actual replica, what it's like, etc., and also why I love it so much, and then I'll show you guys kind of the firing action of it. And this is the Tokyo Marui Glock 26. So that is the kind of double stacked compact Glock. I actually have a real steel version of this, and the reason I got that is because I loved this so much that I thought, you know what, if I'm going to have a pistol, and for me it's for home defense, for self-defense, this thing is awesome. I play with it on the airsoft field. I absolutely love it. One thing I would say is this doesn't necessarily translate to real steel that well. Real steel has a lot more recoil, and this is a very, very short pistol grip, as you can probably see, which means that I found actually with the real steel version, the recoil that I get from it, it actually kind of rips up and into the palm of my hand a lot. I've kind of negated that with some different magazine inserts, but it is different than having it as a kind of, as a real steel version. There are definite differences. So this is made by Tokyo Marui, as I said. This is full polymer because of that. So the rail on top is the slide on top is polymer, which is not like most of the airsoft Glocks or the real steel Glocks that you would see. The base is plastic. It's, like the polymer of a real Glock, so that's not as different. But it is definitely not going to be the most hard-wearing airsoft gun that you're going to get. Mainly, I think they build this because of the fact that in Japan, where Tokyo Marui is based and where they sell to, they use a less powerful gas. So they use duster gas there. So having a plastic slide means that the actual power that's needed to rack the slide each time it fires is less. And it means that it's going to be kind of more gas efficient, etc. We use green gas here in the US, this stuff right here. And that means that the power of it is a lot stronger than it is on the duster gas that this is built for. So one thing you may want to factor in if you're thinking about buying it is that this is obviously plastic and it's going to get thrown back a lot harder than it is designed to do. You can get replacement parts on the internals. You can get metal slides if that's what you want to do. But out of the box, this is full plastic, as all Tokyo Marui Glocks are. And people love Tokyo Marui Glocks, so don't let that kind of talk you out of it. This costs $135. So in terms of an airsoft replica, it's pretty affordable. You're obviously getting a pretty compact package for that, but $135 is not bad at all. The problem you're going to have is that this is incredibly hard, if not impossible, to find if you're buying it in the US or in many other Western countries. You can import this from Taiwan, Hong Kong, etc. But again, they can be hard to get hold of, and your customs may well confiscate them as they come through. The reason for that is this right here. As you can probably see, it has Glock branding on here, and Tokyo Marui, when they've built this, do not have Glock licensing to do that. So technically, this is not licensed legally. So if US Customs have this come through the border and they say, hey, this is an illegally licensed replica, then they may well confiscate it or send it back to where it's come from. I actually bought mine from KY Airsoft. I believe they're based in Taiwan, and they actually sent it. The shipping is a lot more expensive, obviously, because it's overseas, but they sent it. It didn't arrive. It wasn't too long. It probably took about a week to get here, and I didn't have any issues with customs, but just bear that in mind. You obviously here as well have the Glock 26 Austria 9x19, so it is an accurate representation. The actual trades on it are actually, what they're supposed to look like, which I quite like. Now, other things that you may not like about this is the size of the magazines. So the magazines are this big. They're well made. They've actually got Tokyo Marui Glock kind of licensing on the bottom, again, which isn't allowed. But they're really well made. They have this little kind of finger groove extender. So it takes it from being really like a two-fingered pistol grip right there to actually having that extra space in so that you can wrap your other finger. I've got quite big hands, and I still actually find this is pretty easy to handle. It's not like, oh, this is some tiny little thing in my hand that that is a problem to hold. Definitely because of the recoil with Airsoft and because it's a plastic slide, it's not exactly like it's going to kick out of your hand, and it just feels so compact that, again, this is why I've used it. This is why I love it. But it definitely does not feel the same as a Glock 17. It's not going to be as big in your hand. It's not going to be as kind of obvious. But I've got a Kydex holster here. I pretty much use Kydex holsters for all my pistols. And actually, I've got a Safariland clip on here. This will go into a clip on my holster. And that is what it is like when it is there. So if you can imagine that on your hip, it's a concealed carry firearm in real life. So it's so light, it's on your hip, you completely forget about it's there, or a drop leg or whatever you're going to put it on. But drawing this thing, when you have it, it's just so short. And this is why I absolutely love it, is the barrel length. I've said this before in a few other videos, but what I really love is if I'm playing at a field, and a lot of the fields I'll play outdoors, and they'll have like a town area or buildings you're going into. If I'm using my primary and actually it's going to be too long, or I've got a minimum engagement distance, which normally is like 5 to 10 feet with your primary, you draw your secondary and your pistol, and you're going to have 5 feet engagement or less. And so for me, if I'm going into a building, I can go around corners a lot easier. I can kind of keep this a lot closer to myself. I'm not flagging myself going into buildings. And so I nearly always will draw my secondary. I know a lot of people don't play that way, but what I'm obsessed with this is it literally is like the length of my finger. So it's almost like, imagine if you're kind of going into a doorway and you're wanting to look round, you're basically just pointing your finger at whatever you're trying to cover or shoot. And so it's really easy. You can imagine it's almost like a kind of video game weird thing where you can literally just like ping it round, bang, bang. Obviously, you're not going to get that much longer if it's a 17, a 19, or, you know, a high capper. But there's just something about it where it's almost like everything is on the twist of my wrist. And it's super comfortable. I've actually, so this doesn't come exactly like this. I've put one of my favorite Talon grips on here. This one's actually a more rubberized design. I don't like it as much as the kind of the grit versions that I've got on my Glock 45s. But this is still great. It gives a little bit of extra grip to it. I wouldn't say it's necessarily worth doing that, but this was built for a real steel, so you can just go online onto Amazon. I think they're about $20. Just look for a Glock 26 Gen 3, because this is what this is based on, and you will you'll be able to find it pretty easily, and then just order it, zip it on, or put it on. You can heat gun it. It goes on perfectly. Things I don't like about this. So now, one thing that I really don't like, obviously you get the slide lock function, which is great. But as you can see, when I don't have, if I fire off the action here without the mag in it, when I fired off the action on a normal Glock, this trigger should be there. And so it should hold there until I rack the actual slide, and then the trigger should come forward, letting me know that it's actually something's chambered or the actual action is being cocked, so that it's kind of like almost like a safety feature. With this one, it is always in that position, which for me is kind of annoying. I don't think it's a kind of deal breaker, or hence it hasn't been, because I still use it, but it is kind of irritating that it does that. So that's one thing. It does have your kind of standard Glock safety that goes in there, but if I've got something in the chamber, or I'm not sure if I do, and I look and I pull my pistol out, say I'm going to clear it before I go into the safe zone, or I've come out the safe zone about to start a game, and I want to know that I've got it ready to go, I can't tell from just looking at it, which I can do with other Glocks. So, you know, it's not the end of the world, but it's not great. So that's one thing I don't like. Other thing I don't like is actually something you don't need to use. It's got your Glock safety trigger. So that's kind of what you would normally have on nearly every Glock. That's kind of how they work. But what you do also have is this little metal piece here, which is like your serial number. You can see there's a little arrow just at the bottom there. So if I rack it, I can slide this down, and that actually puts it into safe. And so that means that this can't be pulled. And so I think as it's a toy, you know, it's quite a useful-ish kind of thing to have. You know, if you've got kids or something, you know, you're not wanting to leave it around in a certain state. You've got it rather than not having it. I don't think there's a big issue with that. But it is kind of annoying, again, because you can't pull the trigger. So if for whatever reason, and I never use it, but if I put it on safe, and again, I took it out into a game, I pulled my pistol going into a building, came round the corner, and did that as I was trying to take someone out, and I get shot. I've got no idea if I haven't checked it that this is the safety's on. So again, something I don't really like, but it's something that, you know, you don't have to use, so it's not a big deal. This is, yeah, super ergonomic. One other thing that I don't really like about this is, again, I haven't really used it, but there's no rail. So it's a Gen 3 and it's a 26, and so it means there's no actually kind of cut Picatinny rail in here. So you can't put any of your flashlights, you know, whatever you would normally put on there. So, you know, some people, again, you may not use it because this is kind of like a very specific use case pistol, but it's something you got to think about. One thing I've actually done on my Real Steel is you can get a, it's almost like a laser flashlight, and it actually wraps around the front of the trigger guard, and it kind of just sits here as if it's attached by a Picatinny rail, but it's not. So it's something you could probably put on here. The expense of it and actually having it, I don't know if that's worth it. What is kind of cool is when you've got your hand here, the button's there. So you're actually kind of engaging the button right on that. Other than that, guys, I think that's probably all I don't like about it. But I have to say, like, just in terms of maybe not the look, maybe if I'm going into a game and people are like, what is that? But the way I play with it is just, my gameplay gets better just for having it. And it hops 3 2-gram BBs. So you think, oh wait, it's a Tokyo Marui, it's going to be firing, you know, mid 200s, and it's not going to be, you know, usable in anything but 0.2s. I have 0.32s in here, 3 2-gram BBs, and it is, oh, I just froze there for a second. 3 2-gram BBs, and it hops them perfectly. You know, it's not going to have the biggest range ever. I've never changed anything internally on this, and it does great. It's got your white dotted iron sights. I actually shoot, again, from muscle memory a lot on this, but if you want to, iron sights are accurate. And then the other thing that I am going to show you is another thing that I think is very, very cool with this. Because it's a Glock 26 and it's pretty much your most compact double stack Glock, you can use pretty much any Glock mag with it. So obviously this is the 26 mag, it's going to fit in there, and then that's going to kind of have your base plate. You can get extended base plates, you can get, you know, you can remove that if you wanted to and make it more compact, but a normal base plate, your fill valve's just there. So obviously you can do that. You can't put a 26 mag into a 19, you can't put it into a 17, you can't put it into a 45. So this really is only going to work in a 26. But you can also put a 19 mag. Oh, that's actually a 17. You can put a 19 mag in there, and that is going to go perfectly. And that actually, for me, makes it slightly better length, because it's almost, you know, like, again, it's not recoil that I'm having to deal with particularly. So it's almost making it better length, whether it's kind of that extender and it's giving me a few extra rounds just to use. So it'll take any 19 mag that you want to do. And what I will normally do is, if I have my pistol in the actual holster, like in here on my belt or on my drop leg, I'll have it normally in that format just so it keeps it short, so it's not getting in the way of anything. Not that it would anyway. But what I'll have is actually one of these or one of these on my belt as the secondary mag. So I'll kind of normally probably have a 17. So that means that if I run out of that mag of BBs, I'm basically just giving myself a 17's full mag instead of having, oh, it's another 26. I don't have the mag capacity. Plus those 17 mags fit perfectly in my pistol mag pouches. So it works great. I know exactly where they are. I'm used to drawing them. To be honest, I would say these also fit really well, and they normally sit right up to the edge. So pulling them out isn't normally as easy, but it is something where if you're trying to keep a compact light frame, if your pistol mags are catching on something, if you've got a pistol mag pouch in, you know, a weird location, you literally will just have this little lip sticking over the edge. You can just pull it like that, insert, and you're ready to go. So that's pretty awesome. But you could go even a step further and take a Glock 18C mag and turn this thing into an absolute beast. I mean, obviously that's going to have 50 rounds in it, and I've never really used it like that. I have actually, for a joke, put a Glock drum mag on the bottom of this. I don't think it's going to be great for it, especially if you're putting tons of rounds through it with a plastic slide. But it's great. It takes it. The cooldown on this is literally nothing, because it's almost basically all in plastic internals other than your inner barrel. So it performs, it runs, it's beautiful. So I thought I'd just give you guys a quick update on that, just kind of show you around this. If you have any questions about it, definitely let me know. I'll show you how it fires right now so you can see. It's not going to have the same recoil, and it is going to have a slightly more plastic slide sound than your usual Glock would have. So I'll give you an idea quickly. I'll try and do it like that for you. Here you go. Oh, I've actually put some gas in here, it might help. I haven't actually used this pistol for a while, so... Okay, so I put some gas in there. So that is the 26 mag. Here is a 17. There's a 17. Here's a 19. Just make sure I've gassed all these. And then finally... I mean, this is just unbelievably cool / really weird. Super snappy. You haven't got that Glock trigger kind of pullback there. If I'm coming into a place, it's just... Absolutely love it. So there you go, guys. That is my kind of little overview review of the Glock 26 from Tokyo Marui. Hope you guys found this interesting and relevant. And if you have any other questions, as I said, put them in the comments below. I'll be back with another video very soon. And I hope you guys are great wherever you are. Goodbye.